Well, good morning, everybody. This is Steve, 1,000 Year Home. So we're dealing with something that's not 1,000 years. We're dealing with Starlink today. So I'm helping set up a Starlink in a friend's house. So it's now there's two different kinds, right? There's Starlink satellite for your home, which is a bigger system, and then there's Starlink for RV, which is readily available, smaller dish, I believe. But for sure, it's lesser. If you get Starlink for RV, you will idle behind the people who buy the home version. So everybody's on a satellite and it's saturated, and you got Starlink for RV, you're going to get less service. So let's say that right up front. However, for a guy like me who's off grid or in this situation, it's a house that's temporary. So an apartment right out in the middle of nowhere. So it's a perfect solution for that. People who travel, it's for RVs, right? It's a perfect solution. It's temporary. You put it up one night and take it down, drive somewhere. So, and on the farm for me, I move it around, right? So actually I've moved my Starlink a couple of times as I work on one Connex, get it half done, move to another one. But today's an opportunity for me to set up a new Starlink for somebody else. So we'll walk through that process. So, a couple of things that I've learned about Starlink. So, right off the reel, you've got to make sure that you have good line of sight. And that's towards the south and east, in my opinion. Most of the satellites seem to be there in this hemisphere. Your experience may differ depending on where you are in the world. And then I do find when the kids come home from school and there's a lot of people, that my Starlink slows down. So sometimes it's zippy quick. And sometimes it's not zippy quick. So know what you're getting. You're not going to get high speed. It's not like fiber or something like that. But here out in the country, if I bought like a Hughes satellite or one of the older satellite systems, it's a big 4-foot round dish they want to put in your house and in your yard and cut down trees and all of that nonsense. And the service is terrible. So let me rotate. So I'm going to unbox this thing. It's a lot smaller. There's my hand for scale. So first off, the instructions, if you'll notice, this is it. There's no English. There's no warnings. There's no thick thing. We're back to 2500 BC. Hieroglyphics are it. And so it does tell you a little bit. First off, the unit has little gyros in it, so it'll self-level itself and find the satellite itself. So don't grab it by the edge and force it in one angle or another. Don't do that. And then the cable is a 50-foot cable that will come into your house. And then from there, you plug in power to the wireless router. Now, the home version, I understand, has a jack on the back for RJ45 Ethernet cable on the back, or whatever that is, and these do not. So they are wireless only. Now I get pretty good range of mine. I'm going to guess anywhere on the farm up to a football field, maybe I'm able to get connectivity through my Starlink router. And then you have to download the app, Starlink app. So download the Starlink app. And then you scan the sky, and I'll do that step for everybody. And you verify that you have good line of sight. And that's it. 3 steps, and they're not complex when you do it. When you first plug it in, and I'll try to capture that, it will seek out satellites. Once it has enough satellites, it'll turn on. And then the first time you power it up, a satellite will have, the router will have a name. And there for a while, Elon Musk was calling them all stinky, which I think is disrespectful of a clientele. But the reason why he doesn't want it to be in conflict, nor does he want a million things named Starlink. So there would have been other ways to do that, like the big boys do. They just append the serial number of the router into the link, and then there's all unique names. But instead, we'll get stinky. Also, if you have 3 power disruptions in a row, the router will automatically reset back to factory settings, and then it'll say stinky again, or whatever Starlink decides to call their. When I first got Starlink, it was called Starlink, and I enjoyed that. And then I had 3 power disruptions, mostly because I'm off grid, right? And I unplug and plug my power in, and so this is it. It's really well built. This is a good aluminum base. It's got the holes drilled in where you can mount it on anything. I brought some clamps, and that's how I've been doing mine. So this is the thing inside of here. The dish is a gyro, powered gyro that'll power it back and forth. So you just snap these buttons into there, and there's your router with the both cables will plug into that. So the 50-foot cable that's attached to this and the power cable. So the 50-foot cable, when you do run it, and some of this I'll do off things. See how big that end is? It's got to fit through that. You can't cut that off or any such thing like that. So we're going to temporarily run it out of a little kitchen window and then put foam around it. And then I think we'll be in good shape. So without further ado, this is the unboxing. There's not a lot of complexity there, right? And there's the power cable for the router itself. So very good. Let me pause here and get set up, and I'll put it up on the house. Okay, so I've got everything out of the box. This is how I am temporarily attaching them, and these are steel. You could get them at Harbor Freight for $9 or $10. And so I end up, I like on my Connex, I clamped it around the post here, and then I put the other clamp here. And I've been through some pretty high winds, 20-mile-an-hour gust, thunderstorms, and I haven't lost mine, and it's on top of a Connex, so it's up there in the air. These are well made. This is an aluminum base, heavy duty, and everything here feels like it's aluminum and well made. So what I'm going to do now is drag this cable out and around and through a kitchen window and then into the router. All right, I want to show you a cool feature of my Ford here. So you push this button and open it up, drops down, because I don't have a ladder with me today, but my plan was always to use that. And looky, I now officially have a platform to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the satellite dish here. I've already done a line of sight, and I know that I have clear line of sight. That way's east, that way's north, there's south. So pretty good satellite location. So. All right, so, you know, if evolution was true, human beings would have 3 hands, because we've always needed 3 hands. I don't know, this 2-hand thing. So, I'm holding my cell phone. Let me zoom out, get a maximum zoomage. There we go. So there we are. And then I'm just going to orient the base with the click. You know, there's... See, there's inside there's a little thing. Let's do that. Click. Good detent. It's in there solid. And then what I've done is I'll take this and clamp it around the base. And then I clamp the clamp. And, you know, it ain't going nowhere. So let me go ahead and pause you and do that, and then we can look at it together and see if y'all agree it's okie dokie. Okay, a slight change of plans here. I spoke to the gentleman who owns this place, and because of the corrugation here, you see how it bends? I'm not able to get the clamps in there as tight as I'd want them to be to know it's safe. So talking to the owner, we've decided, he said I could go ahead and just screw right through and tie this down. So I've got the Starlink in. I've got the cable run all the way into the router in the house, and all I'm doing is waiting for the owner to come back with a board and some screws so I can do that. But I don't own this place, so I wasn't going to put screws in. So, but that will more than work. Okay, so there it is. I believe it's found a satellite up in the sky. We ran staples along there. It's screwed in. The clamp I did didn't work on that. It does on my Connex, but my Connex is solid. So it runs down, and then all the leftover cables here, tucked in out of sight. We're going in through the kitchen window. I'll tuck that in a little better. All right. So now let's go in and wire up that whole, we'll do the next phase. We'll get things going as far as the account. All right, so this is one thing that bothers me, that it used to be called Starlink, and then he changed it to Stinky, Musk did. And disagree, I think that's disrespectful to people, but there we go, I see it, right? And it'll require that I that I change that when I open up a browser. So I'll go ahead and open up a browser. All right. And then it opens up this. I'm going to go ahead and pause while I put in a password. So I don't want everybody to know my Wi-Fi name and password. Okay, so then we made a new Starlink name because Stinky's so disrespectful. And I won't show you what that is. You do you. And anyway, it's all set and we've connected. Look, I've gone up here to YouTube. Let's watch me. Farming chores. All right. But I think there we go. I'm all connected to me. Yay! Pretty happy. And get my pretty happy. I'm back in the Connex doing an inventory. All right, now I'll configure the person's Roku. So let me get that all set up. Let's see here. Blah, 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 blah. Settings. That's where that was. Settings. Network. And then set up connection. Come on. There we go. Wireless. And again, that's a big difference between your batteries are getting a little. Hold on. That's the difference between the bigger version of Starlink and this version, right? This is wireless only. So I do see it. I'll try to blur that out. Boopity. All right, I'm gonna pause you. Yeah, he is so cool. All right, so let's see. Doing a walk around the property with. Excellent. All right, so successful install, super easy. I could recommend, and I've done this a couple of places, so I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough. I'll chop it all together and put it in one big piece so you can watch it. Like, subscribe, follow me along. This is Steve, 1000 Year Home.